episode 20 of On the Wild. I'm Riley Keenan. With me, as always, ANUJ'S. It's been a tough week for you.
Yeah. Maybe the worst sports week of my life, which is crazy because I'm not even mad about either thing that happened. But there were two things that happened within the past week that I never thought would ever happen.
Unprecedented.
LeBron lost in the first round for the first time in his career. He's now 14-1 or 15-1, one of the two.
Which is ridiculous. I never thought he'd actually lose in the first round.
Yeah, neither did I.
This was like the one time where it was even a possibility. And we've said it before, the Suns were the one team.
Yeah, and I just want to say one thing. Saying Anthony Davis got hurt for being the reason they lost is valid.
It's a valid argument.
It's not an excuse. An excuse would be if let's say they were both healthy, LeBron and Anthony Davis, and all the role players, Schroeder, KCP, Kuzma, Drummond, all the role players didn't play well, which they didn't. That would be an excuse.
Yeah.
But saying one of the two got hurt, and LeBron wasn't 100%, but I'm not going to use that because I think he was good enough to play well.
Yeah.
He just wasn't his full self, which is whatever. But Anthony Davis was literally not there for games 5 and 6.
And it's you mentioned it. Anthony Davis is the most important person to the Lakers.
I've said that multiple times. LeBron has said that multiple times. He said, I think after game 1 against Phoenix, he said, when AD is AD, we're the Lakers.
Yeah.
Which basically means he's the most important player. The way that they play, the way that they built their team was get AD going early so LeBron can kind of pick his spots and let the game come to him as the game goes on.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean AD is better than LeBron. It's just he's the most important player because he's the one who sets up the rest of the game in the first quarter.
Yeah. I immediately connect LeBron and AD, their balance, to the Leafs in terms of AD is the most important player because he, him getting started lets LeBron, go into the game and be able to be successful. To the Leafs, John Tavares is the most important player, but Matthews is the best player.
Right.
Because Tavares is going to go up against the team's best line, so he's going to have to defend them, and that allows Matthews to get to his game early. So it's kind of the same thing there.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing.
Yeah. So
also getting AD going early also opens it up for the shooters.
Yeah, and his defense is a huge loss. Ayton would not have been able to get things going if AD was in there guarding him inside.
Well, Ayton was kind of doing well anyways, but just looking at the way the series was going, they lost game 1 and they won game 2 and 3.
Yeah,
and I think they were winning game 4 when Anthony Davis got hurt, or it was a really close game.
It was close, yeah.
And then so all the momentum the Lakers had built up to that point through the first 3.5 games was all gone. Yeah. And it went all the way to the Suns side, and they obviously took advantage. Also, the Suns are a really good team.
The Suns are an amazing basketball team. It feels weird watching the playoffs right now because so many of the teams you want to watch and the players you want to watch are out.
So many of the superstars are out.
Luka's gone.
Every single player that J. Cole mentioned on the offseason
is gone.
Are now in the offseason.
It's LeBron, Ja,
Steph.
Lillard had a soundbite on the album.
Lillard, Steph, and Russell Westbrook.
Yeah. Dude, a Westbrook rock a baby. I love that one. But yeah, that's just weird. That's actually really weird that it's also called the offseason, too.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But also, Julio Jones got traded.
Yeah.
So my favorite athlete of all time lost in the first round for the first time in his career, and my second favorite athlete got traded by my favorite sports team.
Yeah.
Within a 4-day span.
Yeah, that's just a tough loss, honestly. If this was 3 years ago, that would be brutal.
Catastrophic.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
I wouldn't come to record this today.
Yeah. But you've had some different feelings on it. I feel like the Julio Jones had been dragged out for so long that you were just prepared for it.
I was at that point where I was I just want it to happen as soon as possible because it's obvious that it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when and where.
Yeah.
So,
and it seemed like it was Titans, Patriots. It turns out to be Titans.
Yeah.
What did you think about the trade, in the return that the Falcons got?
The return? I think it was as good as they were going to get.
Yeah. It feels weird because, you look at a second and a fourth-round pick. In any other sport, that's, really? For an elite wide receiver? But in the NFL, he's also aging a bit. He's had injury problems.
He's 32.
Yeah.
I don't think he has injury problems because last year was the first time he's missed more than 2 games in 8 years. So I don't think he's injury prone. I think that's kind of overdone. Now, if he starts getting injured again this year, then you have a problem. But I don't think as of right now he's not injury prone. He plays through injury.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say injury has kept him out as much as people say it does. But my only thing is that the Titans is just a little bit better situation than Atlanta is. I don't think it's that good of a situation.
It's not vastly different because their defense, like their
defense is not good.
Their pass rush has been brutal the last couple of years.
They lost all their corners.
Yeah,
they drafted Caleb Farley, but we don't know if he's going to be ready for the start of the season.
Like their best cornerback is 32 years old.
Janoris Jenkins.
Yeah. Like and Tannehill, he's a good quarterback. He's an above average quarterback, and he's been on the line of elite the last couple of years.
I say he's like in the top half of the league, but I don't think he's better than Matt Ryan.
Yeah, he's very comparable to Matt Ryan in terms of where he is right now. Like he's young. Matt Ryan's a bit aged, so he's not as good as he was.
Well, no, Tannehill's almost 30, or he may be 30.
Yeah, I think he's pushing up on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's a good quarterback. But I mean, losing Arthur Smith, he goes from Tennessee.
Arthur Smith is in Atlanta now.
Yeah, so
he's kind of like the person who made their offense so good.
Yeah,
he kind of resurrected Ryan Tannehill.
Like, obviously, it wasn't Julio Jones' decision to go to Tennessee, but it's just...
I heard it was one of his ideal destinations. Yeah. It was them and the Patriots.
Yeah, he definitely, picked, kind of like Rodgers. He picked,
I mean, at this situation, I've seen people compare it to the Stafford situation, and I agree with it. Like, he probably gave them a couple places, and they probably tried harder to get him to those places rather than trying to trade him to wherever, like the Jaguars. Or something.
Somewhere not as desired.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird, like... Their offense is going to be scratching at the ceiling here because they got a lot of options, but losing that presence of Smith and bringing in a new coach is going to be interesting.
They hired from within, so I think they hired somebody who was underneath him. So I don't think it'll be that different, but it's just a matter of that quarterback and play caller connection. It takes time. It doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think having Henry will be something different for him because Atlanta's never had a good running back like that. They had Michael Turner at first, and obviously Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman for a couple of years. They had a good little run there, but Henry's obviously the best running back he's ever played with. He's going to see a lot more single coverage because they're going to stack the box against Henry.
Yeah, they're going to want to focus on Henry, and A.J. Brown is a progressing player.
Yeah,
he's getting better and better, so they're going to be focused on him a lot too, which is going to allow him to be successful. It's kind of different than the Ridley situation because you said it that Ridley was a lot better on his own, whereas when Julio
Ridley
was
had his best games last year when Julio Jones didn't play.
Yeah.
So now he's obviously going to see more attention, but they also just got Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, who's going to be a menace.
He's not a tight end. He's listed as a tight end, but
he can do it
from
all.
what I've read, they just started mandatory minicamp, and some reporter said he hasn't seen Kyle Pitts line up in the same spot twice.
Wow. So he's kind of
twice in a row. Sorry.
He's kind of like a Taysom Hill, maybe not as much of a utility guy,
Hill,
but a very a guy you can do anything.
You can do anything with him. And if you look at his stats in his last year in Florida, his splits from being on the outside in the slot and playing the tight end, it's all split. It's about the same. He has the same amount of catches in each spot. So they're going to use him all over the field. Yeah, I don't think it's that bad for Atlanta.
Yeah.
As bad as it could have been, a couple years ago if they were to trade him, I think they're kind of well off. I really like what they're doing, overall. Obviously, you're losing the best player in their team's history, in my opinion. You could say maybe Deion Sanders is the best player to play for the Falcons, but when you're looking at who's the best Falcon ever, it's probably Julio Jones or maybe Matt Ryan. But I think they're good enough on offense to not take that much of a slide.
Yeah.
It's really just the defense because now they have a lot more money. So they can sign their draft class. They'll have about $9 million to spend. Who knows? Maybe they get Justin Houston or...
That'd be a cool pickup.
Somebody...
I mean, if Atlanta's defense can...
contract.
If they can stay healthy, it can be dangerous. It's not going to be a top of the league kind of thing, but it can be something that can get you into the playoffs and kind of break the door down.
I wouldn't say, they would carry, but, if they could be mid...
Yeah.
If they could be, the 17th best pass defense or 17th best scoring defense.
Yeah, as long as they're in the middle of the pack, they should be okay.
Yeah, if they're middle of the pack and their offense is as good as I think it could be, then I think they have a legit shot to make the playoffs.
And with Tennessee too, it's not people are acting like it's like a Brooklyn Nets kind of thing, they're all stacked. They have a lot of problems there, and they're going to be a good team. But when I look at that AFC, you got the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens, the Browns are right there.
I don't think they're the best team in their division.
Yeah. Because, even the Patriots and the Dolphins, they're going to be really good as well. So, there's a lot of competition.
There's a chance they could not make the playoffs.
Yeah. Because
Just
especially if Carson Wentz can have a good year with that
It all
team,
depends on him. If Wentz is what he could have been or what he was a couple years ago in his MVP year, then I think the Colts are the best team in the division, and it's not really close.
Because their
opinion.
defense is just so unstoppable.
Yeah, it's really good defense, really good offensive line. They got weapons, good backfield. Jonathan Taylor going into year 2.
Yeah.
But obviously, if Wentz is shot, like if he's not the player he once
a shell
was,
of himself, then they're going to struggle.
then obviously I think the Titans would be the team to beat. But I feel like winning the division is their only way of really making the playoffs, or maybe like the 6th or 7th seed.
Yeah.
Because I think whoever doesn't win the division out of Cleveland and Baltimore is getting the 5 seed.
Yeah, the wild card games are going to be crazy in the AFC, and even the NFC. Like, there's a lot of good teams, but the AFC just looks so. I feel like the winner's coming out of the AFC.
I think this is the first year. It's the first time in a long time where I feel like the AFC top to bottom is better than the NFC.
That's kind of like, I'm looking at the NBA like that a little bit too. Like, it's kind of getting to that point where it's like, you know what? Once the Celtics have their depth, and Brooklyn's there, Atlanta's there, Philly's there, it looks like the East is better.
I wouldn't say the East is from top to bottom. I wouldn't say it's better.
From top to bottom, not better, but I think it's top heavy.
Top heavy, yeah. I think it's going to be like 4 or 5 teams, which is more than enough to have a competitive conference. But I think top to bottom, the West is crazy.
Yeah, the West is just so deep.
Because you got to think about it. Because Golden State's coming back next year.
Dallas is going to be better.
Dallas. It's only a matter of time. I think I said it last week, but it's only a matter of time before New Orleans is good.
Yeah, the Pelicans.
There's a lot of teams who I think are going to be good and up and coming. And you still have like the pillars, the Lakers, Clippers, Denver, Portland.
And Sacramento, I think, will eventually ascend into that spot.
Assuming Dame is still in Portland, I think Portland will always just be a playoff team.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think the East is definitely better than it was a few years ago. Though.
Like before, it just seemed like it was just, okay, LeBron's going to make it out, and then there's nothing else really there. Now it seems like there's true competition. Obviously, like, I said it so much going, like, I genuinely thought the Bucks can be that team that can walk all over Brooklyn. Not walk all over them, but can defend them and match up against them. But it just really hasn't seemed that way, or it hasn't gone that way at all. Like,
Game 3's tonight. I know we're recording this, so maybe it can get to 2-1. But
for me, like, Giannis, like, we know he can't shoot. Like, he needs to go inside. He needs to play good defense, and he needs to be a solid playmaker. But Drew Holiday's been solid. It's been Middleton that's been the problem, and it's always been Middleton.
It's always Middleton. I think I said it when we first did our NBA predictions that Middleton was going to decide this series. Yeah, he was going to be the X factor, and obviously he hasn't performed.
He's shooting 13 for 43 right now, which is horrendous. Like
Kuz numbers.
Yeah, like he kind of does act like Kuzma in a little way, where he just tries to do a little too much sometimes. Like Middleton, it's like at some point, like obviously, like we hear like the Kobe's and the Jordans say like, oh, how many times did you shoot? Like you shot 30 times, like you missed 25 of the shots, keep shooting, like you're that guy. At some point, Middleton, you just got to be like, you know what, I'm not that guy. I'm in the playoffs, I'm not the guy that's going to drop 30. I need to stop shooting so much.
He has the ball too much, I think.
Yeah,
like,
a lot of his offense focuses.
I think Drew Holiday should be the primary ball handler.
100%. His court vision's incredible.
And Middleton should just like camp out in the corner.
Yeah.
And hit his corner threes.
That's the thing that's always been the Bucks' problem is they focus so much on their shooting and they hound on defense. But if they're not hitting their shots, they're not getting inside, and the teams are going to clog up the paint. And just like the Suns were doing to the Lakers, they're just going to let them shoot because they can't hit the shots.
Which surprised me because in the Miami series, they were shooting the lights out.
Yeah.
So I was expecting them to match Brooklyn's offense.
For sure.
But they just haven't showed up yet.
Yeah. And I mean, like, listen, Kevin Durant's the best player in the league right now. Like, with LeBron out of the playoffs, people talk about Luka or, Giannis,
Kawhi.
But it's KD.
It's KD.
He can score on anybody. And
he's the most unguardable player ever.
And I think so, because you can't, like, no height's going to stop him, no speed or agility.
Because he can do everything, and he's 7 foot tall.
Yeah.
I think he's a 10 foot apex on his shot.
Yeah, and like his wingspan is probably like 7'4". Like, you're not going to be able to block his shot. And with Harden as a facilitator there, it just makes him so much more dangerous because people are going to be focused on him, but he's also one of the best passers in the league, which a couple of years ago people wouldn't have said, but it is true. Like, he's always
been a really good passer.
Yeah. I think just the problem has been like where people have called him a ball hog, where it seems like, oh, he's not a great passer. But when he does focus on that part of his game, he's
I don't think it was a
one the
matter of
best.
him being a ball hog. It was just the system he was playing in,
Yeah,
just Mike D'Antoni's system.
Yeah, it's always been, all right, give Harden the ball and see what he can do.
Yeah, it's always been very point guard centric. I mean, he
Yeah.
won Steve Nash 2 MVPs from giving him the ball and letting him control everything. So
Yeah.
it's kind of just the system that he plays in.
Facts. And then, man, I look at that Suns Nuggets series. Like, I just don't see a way the Nuggets. I don't even think they can really win a game, honestly. Like, I could see them stealing one and going to 5, but
I
just
think the Suns can beat the Nets.
I think that the Suns are they're going to the finals.
I think they are too.
I think it'll be. I don't really know with the Clippers, man, because we talked about. Oh yeah, it's going to be the
I think
Mavericks.
they may lose to the Jazz.
Yeah, because the Jazz are just so deep. They got really good defense. Listen, Donovan Mitchell, man, he's special. Like he's a special player.
He's the new D Wade is what they're calling.
Like
a lot of people are saying.
I wouldn't put him in superstar status, but with the way the team is built, with interior defense and everybody spacing out and him allowing to just get to the basket, but also he's become a lot better of a shooter. He's a very dangerous player. And
I think it's fair to call him a superstar at this point.
Yeah, like the way he played last year in the playoffs, that's a superstar, no doubt. This year in the regular season, he kind of didn't live up to that hype.
And obviously,
and he's getting there
since
now.
he's gotten back, they haven't lost a game.
Exactly. So, I mean,
And Utah didn't play well in game 1.
Yeah.
Like, Donovan Mitchell played well. I think I saw a stat. It was like, he shot over 50%, and Derek Favors shot one shot, and he hit that shot.
Yeah.
And every single other player didn't shoot 50%. Mm-hmm. And I think at one point they missed like 20 straight shots, and they still beat the Clippers.
Yeah.
With all that, they still beat the Clippers.
That's crazy.
I think they're gonna win the series.
I'm just really happy. Like, for me, like growing up watching hockey, I've always been like a team-centric guy. Mm-hmm. And then since becoming like an NBA fan, like I've watched the superstars. I'm like, oh, I want to see this guy. Yeah. It's refreshing to me to see like if it is Jazz Suns, just that it's going to be two really good teams with far and away the best fan bases right now. Like the most energy we're getting from crowds.
Bro.
Yeah, and just it's going to be a fun series to watch because they're well matched up. And like Chris Paul, the way he's playing right now.
Oh yeah,
he's the best passer in the league. You know,
right now.
Right now you can put LeBron against him, and there's a couple other guys, but the way he's been able, like with the shoulder injury and not having
LeBron
his touch,
is strictly because of his vision and his size,
and it's just an IQ in general.
Yeah,
but with Paul, like he's not as like he's had the shoulder trouble. He hasn't found his touch as much, even though he's found it a bit in game 2.
Games 1 and 2, he went 6 for 6 in the fourth quarter in game 1. Last night he only took 10 shots, but he hit 6. I think he had 17 and 15.
Yeah, he's been super efficient. Same with Ayton. But just the way he's been able to find people on the court is incredible. And man, I just feel so bad for the Nuggets because we've said it before that just not having Jamal Murray is a tough way to go. And MPJ hasn't been that. Like he can be that second option, but he'll come out with a hot first quarter or first half, and then just second half it falls away from him. Like I don't know. I think he's shooting like maybe 1 or 2 for like 18 in the second half in this series so far. And with Jokic too, like. His facilitating is at the top of the league. Like to average nearly a triple-double as a center is crazy. Like he's the first MVP since Shaq, or first center to win MVP since Shaq.
Yeah.
Like when I watch him play, and in this series, like you could tell without Murray, like the off-ball movement of the Nuggets just isn't there, or it isn't comparable to where it has been in the past. And you watch Jokic, like a lot of the time he'll be like, all right, I'm going to take over the game here. Like he's going to back away and he'll come in from the three-point line and go into the paint. And you just watch these Nuggets players. They're just standing still. They're just waiting to see what he does. But his vision is so great that if these guys are moving around, he'll be able to find someone. Like kind of like I heard him on Shumper talking about it with like LeBron when he played on the Cavs. LeBron would just be out there like waving people around.
He'd be in the post just like
he'd be pointing everywhere.
Where to go.
And everyone would do the little thing and then boom, cut, Iman Shumpert, easy dunk. It's like that. I feel like Jokic, maybe not with the communication factor, but if they do it on their own, he'll be able to find you.
Yeah.
And I think their off-ball movement just hasn't been there. If they can move around more, try to get open more, like there's going to be a lot more opportunity for the Nuggets to score. Like I think the first half of that game too, like it was the lowest scoring game they've played this year in the first half. Like there just hasn't been a lot of movement. I think the dynamics of the Nuggets just hasn't been there. So they need to.
The way that they play, you'll get past teams like Portland.
Yeah.
Like I picked Portland because I thought C.J. McCollum would have played better. I thought the role players would have played better because Dame was obviously going to show up.
Yeah.
And he did. But they're not a good defensive team. I think they were the second worst defensive team in the NBA this year. Mm-hmm. So playing the way Denver does, you'll get past Portland. Playing that type of offense, but
not the upper echelon of the league.
Not the Suns. The Suns are a top 5 defense.
Yeah.
So along with their offense, I think they're one of the 2 teams that are top 5 in offense and defense.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a well-rounded team. So playing offense the way that they do probably wouldn't get them past them.
Yeah.
And it's obviously showing now.
Yeah, and it's good to have Will Barton back, but you look at that Nuggets roster and you can see like it's just not that deep.
Mm-hmm.
It really is like I don't see any other way of anybody else winning MVP this year.
I take some of the Suns players on the bench over some of their starters.
Exactly, and just like people talk about Curry deserving. He didn't make the playoffs. People talk about Harden. He had a rough start to the year.
Curry is more valuable to his team than Jokic is.
Yeah,
but
with
the way the criteria works, you have to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
but it changes every year. So like I'm at the point now where like the NBA MVP, I still care about it, and it's obviously a great award. But I think of all the MVPs in sports, I think it's the least valuable.
Yeah.
Because it's just like they change the criteria every single year.
Yeah,
One year it's, you have to have the best record. One year it's who's the best player. One year it's who has the best story.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep it consistent for what you're looking for, and
I feel like this year,
right.
Like just kind of outlines what it really should be. Because a lot of the time, like you can see, like, LeBron should have won. He was the best player in the league, but it was someone else that was technically more valuable. This year, like alone, like really showed me, like Jokic was a top 3 seed. He was the best player on his team. He didn't really have a true second option a lot of the year, and everybody else was, playing crazy basketball. Like I feel like he just definitively deserved it. Whereas Curry, like,
I'm not saying he doesn't.
Yeah,
deserve it. I'm saying like Curry, I think is more valuable to his team.
I agree. I think Curry's more valuable to the Warriors than Jokic is to the Nuggets. I think that Nuggets would still be a good team without him. Obviously, they need Jamal Murray.
Assuming Jamal Murray.
Yeah, and the Warriors it's not a.
We saw what they were last year. Yeah. They were a lottery team.
Without Curry, it's not a true team.
They had a second overall pick.
Yeah, but he does. I think you need to make the playoffs to win MVP because it kind of defeats the purpose of the award if you don't. But I'm curious because we had a lot of talk about this like within school a lot and just with our friends. Who do you think is the most valuable player in sports? I guess maybe the big 4 sports because we don't really
we don't know soccer.
Yeah, like
we were talking about it just now. Messi's younger than Ronaldo.
This whole time I thought Ronaldo was the younger one. Also, I don't know who's better between the two of them because my whole life I was like I was a Messi guy. I would play FIFA with Messi. And
I've always been a Ronaldo guy because they always compare him to LeBron.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right.
Because Messi they compared to Crosby, so I like Messi, but because he was like very quiet. But like I always heard on the outside world, they'd be like, oh yeah, Messi, like he's dynamic, he's the best player in sports. But then everybody we know is like, oh no, Ronaldo's better. So it's like I really have no idea.
I don't know.
So yeah, looking at the big 4 sports, so hockey, baseball, football, and basketball, who's the most valuable player?
If we're looking, I'll take it 2 ways. If you're looking at like how much money he generates for his league, I'll say LeBron. And you can say LeBron has an argument for being the most valuable player in sports just based off of his play.
I think if he wasn't 37.
If he was 28.
Yeah, if we're talking about
no question.
The last 10 years in sports, it's far and away LeBron.
Yeah. But we're talking right now, I'm going to say Patrick Mahomes.
It's the $500 million man for sure.
Yeah, because he's not only playing the hardest position in sports, in my opinion. I think quarterback. Looking at all the information you have to digest in a span of like 2 seconds to make a decision, it's probably the hardest position to play in sports. And he's the best at it. Yeah. And I don't think it's really close.
And I think I would say he's the best that's ever played. I think he's
talented.
Yeah, talent-wise. I don't think he's the GOAT. Let's get that straight. But I think he's better than Brady's ever been.
Just pure talent.
Yeah, pure talent-wise. He's like Rodgers, where it's like, yeah, you could call him the GOAT because he's, had those incredible seasons, but he hasn't had the track record. Mahomes is gonna have the track record, and he's gonna have the talent. He's gonna have a great team for a long time with great coaching. I just don't.
This may be tough to see right now, but he's a team player. 100%. His contract isn't that bad.
Yeah.
If you really think about it.
Because it's tenured long, too.
Yeah. And the cap is going to be so big in a couple of years. When the TV deal kicks in, the cap is going to go way up. And his contract isn't going to look that bad.
Yeah. And people talk about like how good the team is and like how much depth they have. In his rookie year, his technical true rookie year, he took the Patriots to overtime in the conference finals.
And they should have won because remember Frank Clark, he was offside.
Yeah, they had the penalty call that costed it.
The interception that would have won them the game.
Like, to take Brady to the AFC Championship game in overtime is incredible to do in your rookie year. His second year, he wins MVP. Like, Or no, wait, no, that was the same year.
That was his MVP.
It's his second year in the league, but it kind of felt it was his rookie year.
It was technically his rookie year. He played one game in his rookie year.
Yeah, it's like
it was all right.
It's like Lamar in his second year. He played as like a backup quarterback, running back in his first year, and then
he started. He started like 6 games.
He did, yeah, like near
game.
the end of the year. I remember I went to a game. It was Cleveland-Baltimore, and it was like a 9-6 game. It went to overtime, and Lamar put like 2 touches.
Shootout.
Yeah, everyone in the stadium was booing him, thinking he was going to be brutal. That did not age well, but yeah, like I think Mahomes is definitely the most valuable player because I think when I look at the other sports, baseball, I think Trout is the most valuable hitter, but guy's been to the playoffs.
You could say Ohtani.
You could say Ohtani because he does both sides of the ball, but I don't think he does it at enough of an elite level to be the best because he's not like, I wouldn't say he's a top 10 pitcher. I'd say he's up there in hitting like power wise. But for hitting, I'd go Trout, but I think he's only been in the playoffs one time. And then pitching, it's DeGrom. But also they've had struggles. Like the guy could have an ERA under 2 and he still goes like also, 10-10.
Quick thing, baseball is so sus. Like the substance stuff. Have you been hearing about that?
Oh, like
on the balls.
Oh yeah, like the guys like I'm pretty sure I genuinely believe.
I think Jacob DeGrom was like one of the players who were like
DeGrom was noted, but I think it's heavily Garrett Cole, like the brim of the cap, putting it on. Like I don't know if it's pine tar or not, but
just have more grip on the ball.
Yeah, like I never got that. Like I pitched my whole life, and I never thought to even once do that. Not because like it's like yeah maybe you get more movement on it or you get more speed, but it's just like the integrity of the game. Like how are you going to do that? Like. It's just,
I feel like there's always something with baseball, bro.
Yeah, like
there's always something
PEDs
going on
or steroids,
something
like
with
that.
the actual baseballs themselves.
Yeah. And it's really weird. Like baseball went from a year or 2 ago, it went from everyone was hitting home runs and pitchers couldn't go deep into games.
Now no one
and
can.
Now there's already 8 no-hitters happened in the baseball. Like it's really weird the way the game has changed. And you could see like the higher ups in baseball, they're trying to make it faster, more enjoyable, but you're going to have those batters that take forever in the batter's box, put their hands up, and then you got pitchers that are picking off 5 times in an inning and it's just standing there. Like the game is just so slow and it needs to improve. Also, one thing, umpires need to go. Like I know it's just a part of the game, but they make it so brutal sometimes. Like the calls they make are horrible. It's worse than any other sport because it's up to their opinion. It's not in a rule book. And a lot of the time they'll call it based off where it lands in the glove rather than where it goes over the plate.
See, I'm not a tradition type of guy, so baseball kind of makes me mad sometimes because it's like a very traditionalist sort of thing like it's very like in the past it hasn't really progressed that much.
And like and I get the idea to want to keep them, but at the same time it's like technology has improved so much. Like in tennis, they call the ball based off of like technology, knowing if it was in or out. There's no reason they can't do that in baseball.
Yeah,
they literally have a plate on the screen showing you where the pitches have been. Everybody at home is watching like that was a strike and you didn't call it. So it's weird. So
you're like, oh, I don't like change. Well, you'll get used to it in like a year.
Exactly. But yeah, like going back to what we were saying, like DeGrom pitching wise would be the most valuable player in baseball, but he only pitches every 5 games. So it's not, you take that out of the equation. With hockey at the same time, McDavid is far and away the most valuable player in hockey. But as you saw, he got swept in the first round of the playoffs. It doesn't matter how good you are, you got to have a team behind you. So it really comes down to football and basketball. And like you said, LeBron would be there if it was last 10 years. If I'm picking a guy in the NBA, I'm taking Luka Doncic. Because he's only 22 years old. Yeah. He can take over a game. His team depth, like, you put Doncic on any other team as the number 1 option. You've switched the number 1 options besides maybe Brooklyn and maybe Milwaukee. Actually, I don't know. Milwaukee might be better with Luka.
Than Giannis?
Yeah. It's weird because the defense would struggle a bit more, but...
It'd be tough because I don't know if I would say.
Yeah, it's
very situational.
Milwaukee and
because then if you take away Giannis, then you have Luka, Drew, and Middleton.
Yeah,
that's kind of awkward.
You'd have to move one of the 2 others. But yeah, besides Giannis and KD, like you put him in any other situation, I think has a chance to go to the finals. Mm-hmm. Like just Dallas isn't that team yet, but. It has to be Mahomes because, like you said, he plays the hardest position in football, and you even saw it. Like
I think sports.
Hardest position in sports by far. Like to know all this. I mean, even said when he came into the league, he didn't fully understand. He didn't know what systems were.
He didn't know how to read a defense. He said until halfway through his
MVP year.
No, halfway through the year after.
Yeah, which is insane. Like to see how good he is so early on in his career.
That's also a credit to Andy Reid.
Oh, 100%. He's one of the greatest coaches in sports, I'd say. Like, just the way he was calling it. Like, I'll always think back to it because I'm a Browns fan. But that whole time he called that final quarter against the Browns in the second round, like,
without
beautiful
Mahomes,
coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the 4th and 1 pass to Hill, the third and 13 run by
Chad Henne.
Yeah, Chad Henne. Oh my goodness. But yeah, like just an unreal coach. It's a great system, but he's definitely the most valuable. He's the one you're going to pay the most, and he's the one that is paid the most.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you could also, like, if you're talking about it from like a marketing standpoint too, on the other side where you say LeBron, you could also put Zion into that conversation because
not now, maybe in a couple years.
in a couple years, yeah. But like when he first came into the league too, like there's just so much hype against this guy. Like internationally, people are interested because he's a new type of player. He's supposed to be the next one, like billed as like not
the next face of the
yeah.
NBA.
He's not like the LeBron, but he's going to be like the guy that's supposed to carry it.
They're gonna which he's kind of lived up to the expectations so far. If he's everything that they're saying he's gonna be, which I think he could be,
Yeah.
he'll be like. They'll market him like LeBron.
Yeah. I just the one concern I've always had has just been injuries. Like, can his body take that toll?
Thing.
Because if, so many people say he needs to, like, kind of like Vladdy, he needs to slim down and become stronger and then it can be better. It's different for Zion because having the weight he is now makes him that kind of player where he can dominate and he can push down.
I think he just needs to put on more muscle.
Yeah, definitely needs to not necessarily
maybe lean
slim
down
out.
a little bit. Maybe lose like 10 pounds.
He doesn't need to lose weight. He just needs to gain muscle.
Yeah.
Just kind of like maybe Vladdy needs to lose a bit of weight, but he mostly just needs to gain the muscle. And
well, I don't think Vladdy has to do anything. Vladdy, he may be the MVP right now.
Yeah, he's chasing a triple crown right now. It's pretty crazy. Like, oh man, to be like Miguel Cabrera was the last guy to do it, and it was like, oh yeah, he's easily MVP. The Jays right now are like third or fourth in the AFC, the AL East. Yeah. And it's just like the competition they have is so tough. It's so unfair to be a Jays fan
Yankees,
right now.
Or the Rays.
Yeah, the Rays, man, they don't have. I don't think they have a single player hitting above 290, and they are one of the greatest teams in the league. They've always had good pitching, even though they got rid of Snell, they got rid of Glasgow, and they just still their organization is one of the best in sports, and it's not even talked about because it's like, it's Tampa Bay, like not many people go to the games.
Because they work with so much less, and they're still really good.
They're just really good at breeding players, and I mean they should be congratulated for it because it just doesn't make sense.
They went to the World Series last year.
Yeah, and it really like coaching was the reason they blew it. Like they took Snell out in the 7th or 8th inning, I think it was.
Yeah,
he had only thrown like 70 odd pitches.
That's my problem with analytics. Like analytics are cool and they should be used in a lot of situations, but at the same time, you have to make your own decisions.
Yeah. And that's one of the biggest problems with baseball too. Is like, and one of my biggest issues with Montoyo as the manager of the Jays is he focuses too much on analytics and wanting a lefty pitcher up against a lefty hitter out of the bullpen. If your pitcher's pitching well, you don't take him out of the game. It's as simple as that. And what I don't get to is like back in the day, these pitchers would pitch 200 innings in a season. Nowadays, they're barely breaking 150 because they're pitching 6 innings, they get taken out, and then they get 5 days rest. They sometimes get another day off. Like, what is like we've developed these athletes so much faster and stronger, and yet pitching has become lessened. The arms have had more wear and tear. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they're throwing a bit harder now, and they've developed new pitches. But I just don't. It's just weird to me that like they need so much time off and they can't finish a game.
Yeah,
I see it all the time with the Jays. Like a guy will come out of the bullpen, he'll pitch 2/3 of an inning, strike out the first 2 guys, and then
I've seen that before where they'll put one pitcher in to play one specific batter, and then they'll take him out and put in somebody else.
Literally, and they're like, oh well, it's a righty versus lefty matchup. Then pitch him away. You don't have to. Like they think like, oh, if it's a righty, it comes inside to the lefty. No, if you're a competent pitcher, you're just going to throw a fastball on the outside of the plate, hit him with the off speed on the second and third pitch, and chase him upstairs. Like it's not complicated, but it's just you don't have to be over analytical about everything. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the Jays' problems.
You have to pick your spots. Sometimes analytics do work, not in just baseball, but like all sports.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't let analytics make every single decision for you.
Exactly. And it's like I think about analytics too in hockey. Like they talked about, Carey Price. Like look at his statistics the last couple of years. It doesn't matter because he has the clutch gene. He just. Not single-handedly, but he was lights out in the first round against the Leafs and then even more dominant against the Jets. They just swept the Jets. They're going to conference finals. This was the team that was the 4 seed in the North Division. Mm-hmm. And like I just can't believe it. I'm really happy for all those Canadians fans out there. I know there's like this stigma like between Leafs and Habs fans.
I remember you told me the last time the Leafs every time the Leafs and Canadians play each other in the playoffs, that the team who won ended up going to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, they ended up winning the Stanley Cup. Yeah. I think it was winning the Stanley Cup. Like I could see it because
They're hot at the right time.
Yeah, like they have a top 3 player in the league, and it's their goalie. And in the playoffs, that's what matters the most is your goaltending. They've got a lot of guys on defense that just disturb and just make you annoyed and are big and physical.
Yeah.
And then their forwards, yeah, they got a lot of speed, and it's like they're not big guys, they're small, but they're aggressive, and they know like they just have like 9 different guys that could score 20 goals in the season. So Montreal's going to be good for a long time. And as a Leafs fan, as a Canadian, I want them to succeed. I don't necessarily want them to win, but I want them to go to the finals because it hasn't happened with the Canadian team in a while. And I just think it's just like the thing that what's happening with Carey Price now is what happened with Crosby a couple years ago. People said, you know what, he's lost it. He doesn't have that game. He doesn't have the IQ he once had or the speed he once had. And then he won back-to-back championships, and he said, you know what, shut up. And that's what Carey Price is doing right now. He's saying, I'm the best goalie in the league. I always have been. I had a couple off times, but also Montreal wasn't that great at the time, so you can't really blame him for it.
Facts.
So yeah, analytics need to. Sometimes it's crucial, but sometimes you just have to look at the flow of the game and realize, it is a game. We didn't have these stats back in the day. We just focused on who do we need to roll with and who's playing well.
Facts.
Before we wrap up here, I know we both watched the fight on Saturday.
Yeah.
Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather. What did you think about it?
I mean, it was fine. Like I wasn't expecting much.
Yeah.
So for what it was fine. Like Logan hugged a little bit. It wasn't the most technically sound or like best fight I've ever seen before what it was supposed to be, which was entertainment. I don't think it was that bad.
Yeah, like Floyd literally prefaced it before the fight happened. Like, this is for entertainment. I'm trying to get a bag.
Yeah,
and
I respected that though, because when they came out, they were basically saying like they're here for the money. Mm-hmm. And they didn't try to make something up. Like
everyone knew it going in. It was a money grab, and that's fine.
I'm just happy they accepted it instead of making something up.
A lot of, the one thing I had a problem with was just everyone saying like, "Oh, it's brutal for boxing." I don't think it was brutal for boxing. It had listen, the hardcore fans. If you're gonna watch, you're gonna watch. If you don't want to watch, you don't have to. There's no problem with that.
And it's no secret that boxing isn't as popular as it used to be.
Yeah, and this event brought in millions and millions of casual fans like you and I. We don't watch boxing, but we watch boxing. We watched it because we were interested, because Floyd Mayweather is one of the greatest boxers we've ever seen, and Logan Paul has got 19 million followers on Instagram. And listen, he trained his ass off just like his brother does. They deserve a little bit of respect.
And he didn't do that bad.
Yeah,
people are saying like he did terrible. Well, you have to understand that he's fighting Floyd Mayweather. Even though he's 44 years old, he's still Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, and he still knows all the idiosyncrasies of boxing.
50% of Floyd Mayweather is still better than 80% of fighters in the world.
Exactly.
So
he's still so quick. And listen, Logan landed 23 punches out of 150, and people were clowning him for that. He hit Floyd Mayweather 23 times. That's pretty impressive. Listen, I don't no matter what you say, I go in there against Floyd Mayweather, I'm not touching him. He's knocking me out within 5 seconds. And obviously I didn't train, but give credit where credit's due. I don't think there's any reason to clown Logan. After the fight, he was the happiest I've ever seen him in his life. He's like, I just lived out my dream. I just fought Floyd Mayweather. I hit a couple punches. I made a bunch of money.
Yeah.
There's nothing bad you can say about either guy. I don't think the fight was rigged. I think Floyd maybe didn't go all out.
Yeah, I don't think he took it as seriously. I think he said that after the fight. He's like, he's better than I thought he was.
Yeah.
So I don't think he took it that seriously.
Yeah, he didn't take it too hard. And listen,
and I don't expect him to.
Yeah, there was that clip going around where it looked like he knocked him out, and then he kind of held on to him. Yeah. I could see that a little bit, but I do think Logan would have gotten up. He kind of went like this and started going back and fighting like it was nothing, seconds later. So I don't think he knocked him out fully. I think he would have just been knocked down. But it was a good fight, and Logan got real tired at the end, which is to be expected. He's in the ring with Money Mayweather. I think it was a good fight, and casual fans were watching, and I was watching First Take about it, and Stephen A was just ranting about how brutal it was for boxing. And then there's Max Kellerman, who is a true boxing fan, hosts a boxing show, saying, I thought it was great. And listen, at the end of the day, it was for entertainment, and people were entertained.
It's a show.
It is. It's essentially like wrestling.
If you expected it to be like a technical boxing match walking into it, then you just expected the wrong thing. Because it was never going to be that, and it was what it was, and it was fine.
Yeah, and I don't really fully understand that side of looking at it. If you're a casual, if you're a hardcore fan, you're disappointed by it, that's fine. But me looking at it, I don't watch regular boxing, so I'm not looking at technically sound, dynamic fighters. So when I watch this fight, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm just looking for someone to get knocked out or to see the two guys fight. I don't really care about those little things. If you're not a big boxing fan, you shouldn't really be commenting on that stuff because you don't really understand it or watch it in the first place.
Yeah.
So to say it's like a bad fight, it's not. But and at the same time, like now we got Tyron Woodley going up against Jake Paul.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting. I think that's another event.
I mean,
where
Tyron Woodley hasn't I think he's lost his last 4 fights.
Yeah, but he's still as I've heard, he's a solid striker. So it'll be the biggest test he's had, and he's a true fighter. He's going to come in good shape, unlike Ben Askren.
I'm pretty sure he's training with Mayweather too.
Yeah, and dude, I was watching. I don't know if it was a press conference or I think it was the weigh-in. They were taking pictures. Jake looked scared, like he couldn't. But every other fight, Jake would look them dead in the eye. He'd talk his nonsense. He didn't say anything. He just kept looking down or looking around the room, and he'd look at him for a second, look away. He looks like he's genuinely a little bit scared of Tyron, but I think he's going to train his butt off and he'll come in ready. I think that'll be a really good fight because Jake he's maybe not an established boxer, but he has some credit or some credibility.
You have to credit him for he's trying.
Yeah.
He's not just taking it as a joke.
And it's he hasn't boxed the greatest fighters, but
it's just natural progression.
Yeah.
He's trying to fight people who are at his own skill level or maybe a little bit worse.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's only 23 years old. He's just gotten started really, and he's been we've said it before, he's been technically sound. He's not wailing away or anything. He's not hugging and stuff. He's genuinely fighting like a real boxer, and it's he's going to improve as he goes on. He seems like he really genuinely cares about it. He doesn't seem like it's a money grabber. It's for entertainment. Obviously, it is for entertainment a bit, but he seems like he's genuinely passionate about the sport and he wants to get better. So
yeah, you have to respect it.
Yeah, give credit where credit's due. And if he does win this fight, I think it's time for him to actually box a boxer. But at the same time, I can see why he continues to do this because then he's going to keep getting the hype. And if he does fight a real boxer, I think that's where it ends.
Yeah.
And once you lose, then it's over. No one cares anymore. So I think you ride it out as long as you can.
Yeah. With all that being said, though, I hope Woodley knocks him out.
Yeah, I do too.
So we're going to wrap up right there.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Comment down below, and we'll see you all next week. Take it easy.
Stay well.
Peace.